Yo, what's good? Welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about my truth, my story as a UPS driver. And unfortunately, I never became a actual full-time driver. That was the goal, was to become full-time. Looking at it now, I'm actually glad that it didn't happen because the time and effort that you put in as a driver is pretty insane. And when you're a newer driver, you're even worked more. So it's very stressful. But basically, when I moved back home in May of 2023, I'm like, I need a job fast, something quick. And UPS will hire you like that. The turnover rate is terrible. And I completely understand why. But I moved back, I go in the warehouse, and after like a week and a half, I'm like, this warehouse thing is not for me. This is not gonna work. So I start looking again, and then I'm like, you know what, maybe I can stick it out and try to become a driver. And this is me not having any knowledge about, what it takes to become a full-time driver. Some drivers say, oh yeah, it took me 7 years, or it took me 10 years to become a official full-time driver. And I'm just, once I start hearing those stories, I'm like, that's crazy. Like, I saw another driver, he was posting about the buyout situation going on. He said he's been there since he was 18, been there 24 years. And I'm like, dang, I can't even imagine. But my experience. So that was the goal, was to become a full-time driver. So you go through this probationary phase. So they say 30. I felt like when I got brought in, I felt like mine was 40. But if you do plan on becoming a driver, make sure you count your days. Like, that's one thing I should have did, was count your days, because they will mess up your days big time. And you got to keep tabs on them, because they try to get away with so much stuff. Like, when I went from being in the warehouse to being a driver, a regular temp driver, my first 3 paychecks were messed up. And I mean, I was pissed. I'm like, yo, like, that's the least y'all can do, is pay somebody correctly. Like, especially if I'm putting in all this work, you know what I'm saying? So basically, what they work the hell out of you until January. That's when, like, peak season pretty much ends, like, after Christmas, but they use you until like a specific date in January, and then that's when they put you back in the warehouse, especially if they're not hiring full time. So you just pretty much go back and forth, and that was getting old. So once I went through my first peak season and I went back into the warehouse, that's when my stress started like building up really bad. Like, I was already stressed during peak season as is, because of the communication is terrible within UPS. Like, there were times where I would show up, my name's on the board, and I like preparing myself a lot. A lot of drivers are like, yo, don't show up early, like, you're wasting your time. Like, I get what you guys mean, but as a newer driver, like, I want to be prepared, especially if I don't know the route. Like, I want to be prepared. But there were times where I'm organizing the truck that I'm in, say start time is 9 o'clock, they would change my route at 8:55, last minute, and I don't even know what the route is. Sometimes I might have known the route, but there were times where I didn't. I just had no idea. And if you don't know the route and it's like a busy area, or there's a lot of long driveways, it's an experience. It can be very stressful. And then there's times where you finish a route, you're on your way back, and they're calling you as you're coming back, as opposed to messaging you or calling you while you're already out. It's like they're like, oh, I forgot to call you. Can you do me a favor? It's like, bro, you couldn't have did this earlier. And I already know that I'm gonna miss so much. I'm gonna miss sharing so much of my experiences because there's so much bullshit that you have to go through. Like, it's insane. And like, I know my stories aren't nearly as bad as certain other drivers. Like, I know drivers that have been yelled at, talked down to. I luckily haven't. I luckily never had to experience that because I don't know. I think like my body language, like now that I'm a little older, a little bit more confident, a little bit more like, hey, don't mess with me. Like I feel like I talk a lot through my eyes. Like, you better not mess with me. Like, there were many times where like the manager would see me pissed off, or I don't know, like I wouldn't say I intimidated him, but there were times like he'd be like, "You alright?" I'm like, "Nah, this is some bullshit." Like, straight up. He's like, I know. Yeah. Then don't ask. You shouldn't have asked me, you know? I don't know. It's just insane, like the experiences and all the BS you got to go through to become a driver. But I went through my first peak season, went back in the warehouse, pissed off. I was in the warehouse for about 4 months, and then they bring you back in the summer because that's when vacation starts and they need help. A lot of drivers taking a bunch of vacation. So you're pretty much like a cover driver. And, you know, you might have a different route every day. There were many times where I had a different route every day. And don't get me wrong, I like trying new things, having new challenges, but sometimes it's like, yo, like, can you give a brother a break? You know what I'm saying? Not like a break, but like, can I have like a similar route? Like, why do I have a completely different route in a whole new area? Whatever. I know it sounds like I'm complaining, but the amount of BS that you have to deal with, like, you don't even feel like a human being working at UPS. That's me personally. And I'm not trying to like brag, but you know, since I like to stay in shape and I'm a former college athlete, like, the job's hard, but I know what I'm capable of. Like, I was a good driver. But once I went through my second peak season and we started hearing January 18th, like, that's the last day. I'm like, I had a conversation with myself. I said, if this is what's going to happen, if this is how it's going to be, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to keep going back and forth between being a driver in the warehouse. Like, you're being demoted and you're messing with people's money. You're messing with people's livelihoods. Like, I really wanted to get that position, but I also have a level of self-respect. And it's like, yo, I know my worth. I know what I'm capable of. I've proven myself. You know, I qualified. Haven't gotten in any accidents. Like, for the most part, like, I'm on time when it comes to my routes. The only times I really needed help route-wise was, you know, if a driver finished really early, or if my truck was just completely loaded, or I just didn't know the route at all. So it was kind of like, especially like if you're doing a business route in a busy area for the first time, you're gonna have a long day. Let me tell you. But that overall experience, like, I'll always appreciate the experience because it did allow me to pay off a lot of debt that I was in, especially because I got in a lot of debt when I was in Florida and then I moved back. But those paychecks, like, that's a positive, the paychecks and the benefits. But like, benefits wise, you got to be a UPS 9 months to even start getting benefits. And then when you become a full-time driver, that's when the benefits really kick in. But it's all about your patience and your ultimate goal. Like, as the bullshit kept going on and on, I just kept saying, there's no way I can do this long-term if I become full-time. Like, I know a lot of people say, like, oh, I've been here 20 years, 15 plus years. I wasn't thinking long term like that. So, maybe it was a good thing that I walked away, because once I finished my route January 18th of this year, I'll never forget the date. But I think the worst part about it is they knew the whole time, January 18th. They didn't have the dignity to give us a heads up maybe a week or two in advance so we could mentally prepare ourselves. No, they have us come out on that Saturday, do our route, and as you're finishing the route, they message you, hey, come see us, or come see me in the office on your way out. So I walked in. Oh, today's your last day, right? I said, oh, is that right? Well, today's my last day, period, with UPS. Like I said, I have too much I have too much respect for myself to be going back and forth. I said, the warehouse stuff is not for me, especially in this, like being in the warehouse in the summer, like you damn near dying in there. And they give you like the ice pops, and at one point they didn't even have water. I'm like, yo, how y'all gonna have us in this sticky, disgusting warehouse and y'all don't have water? We gotta bring our own. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong. Like, there's nothing wrong with bringing your own water, but y'all should definitely have water on deck. All the money UPS is making, there should be water in here at all times. At all times. But it's just that overall experience. I appreciate it as well, because it allowed me to connect with other people. It allowed me to build relationships. Like, I'm best friends with another driver. We were in the same orientation class, and as we were going like through our experiences and just going through the peak seasons, like me and him calling each other, and like I had the earpiece on, he had his earpiece on. We just talked, like sometimes we would talk 5 hours a day, like it was nothing. And bitching, venting, because you get so stressed over the job that you need to let it out. And like, no one's gonna fully understand unless they experience it. And like, kudos to the drivers that have kids, families. Like, I'm single with no kids, so I can't even imagine having to deal with that. Like, not being home. Like, there were many times where I was getting off at 9, 9:30, 10 o'clock. At one point, this past peak season, I swear it was like 40 plus drivers that we all got back at 10:30, because 11 o'clock was that cutoff. So they message you at 10:30, hey, get back to the hub. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Like, if you're in a relationship, or if you have kids, and all is well. I'm not saying all relationships are doing well, but like, if y'all are still a team and working together to, make the relationship work, kudos to you. Because I really don't know how people do it. Like, just getting home so late used to bother the hell out of me. It's like, and then like, as newer drivers, like I said, they work the shit out of you. So you're working 6 to 7 days, or you're working 6 days a week, not 7. Sundays, UPS is off, or drivers are off on Sundays. But I'm like, this is crazy. This is too much. Like, even as a single guy, like I like working. Don't get me wrong. I'm not afraid of hard work, but I also like to reset. I also need my rest. I also have other things to do in the background. So, working with UPS, it really handcuffed me from even working on my clothing brand. Like, I literally had no energy. So it was like, I just put my clothing brand to the side, and that would bother me too. So once I heard January 18th was the date, I said, if that's the case, I'm done. I'm not gonna keep disrespecting myself. Y'all make Y'all might want to disrespect me, but I'm not going to keep doing it. And then you'll have supervisors say, oh, don't take any of this stuff personal. Yo, I'm putting in all this time and effort. I'm putting my body on the line. I'm sore as hell. I smell like crap because I've been sweating all day. I'm sitting in these dirty ass trucks that don't get cleaned. I'm going to take it personal. Period. Because I have respect for myself. So there's good and there's bad. But just to see with where the company's going right now, especially with the buyouts, like I saw one driver say, I don't know all the direct information, but it's like $1,800 a month. He's been there 24 years, and that means he would be making like $43,200. That's a slap in the face. You've been there 24 years? That's how much the buyout, that's how much of a buyout you're gonna give me? Hell no, I'm not doing that. And kudos to the drivers that are like standing up for themselves and being like, no. Cause it's a slap in the face. You put all this time and effort to go above and beyond for the company, and we're trying to cut costs, so we're gonna try and buy you out. Nah. So it just further proves that I made the right decision for me. And I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't do it. But I know that might come off as me complaining, but I'm really not. I'm just sharing my experience and sharing the amount of bullshit you got to deal with, because it's not right. I hope it changes, but I highly doubt it. It seems like the company's still going in the petty, or the company's still going in that petty route. They're very petty with how they go about things, and they really need to improve their business ethics, because it's sad. The morale's terrible. There's many times where you don't feel welcomed, especially as a new driver. You got people looking at you sideways. I don't know if they're intimidated. I don't know if they're like just like, this guy might be better than me. But it's disgusting. It's embarrassing. It's like, come on, man. Like, I'm just as human as you. And I think another reason was like, once you become full time, you have a set rate, and then you have the same set rate for 3 years, and then you start progressing. And I know some people were at like 20, like when they started at full time, they were at $23 an hour. And then they start building up after those 3 years. And then the newer drivers that were coming in, we're getting paid $31 an hour. So maybe they're a little pissed off about that. But it's like, that's not our fault. Be mad at UPS, not us. Like, but it's just sad with how some companies treat people. It's like, where's the dignity? And then it's funny because like some of this, I'm about to be done, but some of the supervisors, you could just tell some of them are just so full of shit. They say things to try to make you feel appreciated, but it's like, yo, just shut up. Just please shut up. Get away. Get away. But yeah, that's the gist of my experience. There's so many other experiences that I could share maybe sometime down the line, but I'm going on 20 minutes now. I could probably go on 2 hours, to be honest. But yeah, if you've ever experienced being a UPS driver or just working for UPS in general, sound off in the comments, because I would love to see other people's experience, because man, it's almost like they try to make your life miserable. It's crazy. Hope it improves, but I highly doubt it. But yeah, January 18th, I walked out and I said, deuces, see ya. Thank you for the opportunity, but I'm good. Straight like that. Take control or be controlled.